Hey kids, it's a Piston Fly here, hope you're well. I'm very pleased to be out today on the first ride on my latest long-term motorcycle. This is another one from those nice people at Triumph. This is the Triumph Tiger XRx. Now incredibly, this is regarded as a mid-size motorcycle. I say incredibly because of course it's 800cc, and to my mind that's a big bike. However, these days that's regarded as mid-size. It's a kind of an adventure bike style machine, and it's blessed with this super silky smooth Triumph triple out of the Triumph Street Triple. So stick around and stay tuned, I'll tell you what I think of her. So I first rode a Triumph Tiger 800 over a year ago. I just had a sort of a half an hour test ride on one, so I'm really pleased that Triumph are going to let me borrow this bike for the next few weeks so I can really get to know the machine, because I really quite gelled with it on that first ride and really liked it. It's a bike that's been in the Triumph portfolio since I think 2010, when the original Street Triple kind of spawned it, and since then it's been a pretty good little earner for Triumph. I think they've updated it in increments along the way. This current version, the 2017 model, has got riding modes, ride-by-wire throttle, cruise control, all sorts of bits and pieces that have been added to it over the years, but it's pretty much the same bike as originally it was launched, I think, as I say, back in 2010. So what Triumph did back then was take what was then the 675cc triple from the Street Triple and bore it and stroke it slightly and come up with this slightly large capacity 800cc machine. Puts out a bit less power. I think the Street Triple at that time was putting out something like 115 brake horsepower, and this puts out something like 95. I'll go through the detailed specs in a minute. But this has got all that power and a usable band. It's got plenty of torque as well, and as a sort of an everyday bike, it's really a very nice machine. It's got absolutely no lack of power. I've been riding it today for the last couple of hours. I've been on some, you know, it's been a relatively long journey, about 90 miles odd. I've been on some fast roads, and you know, this isn't one of those bikes where you ride it and think what I could do with is more power. It's just a lovely bike to ride from a power point of view. So let's just take the opportunity in this video then to reacquaint ourselves with the Tiger 800. Now, one of the things that I find a bit confusing about it is all the various names that the bike gets. There's this is, as I say, the XRX, which is the road focus machine. There's also off-road focus versions, which I think are called the XC. I might have this all wrong, by the way, which has spoke wheels and things like that. There's touring versions. There's all sorts of X something something versions. So I'm hoping to get to grip with that over the next couple of weeks. But for now, it's a bit of a minefield to me. But all I know is this one is the kind of road focus bike. And from a practical point of view, it seems very nice. The first thing that struck me when I jumped on was just how comfortable it is. It's got a really wide seat on it, lovely and comfy, and it's quite nice and low as well. I get my feet flat on the deck, which is very nice. It's got these excellent mirrors on here, really good view out the back. I mean, they don't look particularly stylish, but they do work very well, which I guess is the main thing. From a suspension and handling point of view, she feels very, well, I guess if there's a midpoint between hard and soft, this is towards the soft end, I guess. It's quite a forgiving suspension. You could definitely, as I have today, do quite a lot of miles on this and not feel any significant fatigue. It's a very comfortable place to be. Handlebars are nice and wide. In terms of your feet, they're just there. Your feet are sort of underneath your bum cheeks, if you see what I mean. Your knees are at a slightly acute angle, but nothing too bad. It's just slightly under 90 degrees. Feels very similar to my GS actually from a comfort point of view, except your legs are wider than I'm used to. They're quite, I don't know if it's because it's the triple layout of the engine, but my legs feel much wider, splayed out than I'm used to. One thing I have noticed that I'm not so keen on the bike is its wind protection, in that it's got this screen on here which is manually adjustable via these knobs here. I think I need to fiddle around with that when I get the bike home, just to see. And it's got what looks like quite a large frontal area, but all that said, despite the screen and the large frontal area, I am getting quite a bit of wind blast on me, particularly on faster roads. I noticed that I was getting buffeted around quite a lot, so this is definitely a bike you might want to look at either an aftermarket screen or one of those little spoilers that you can get on there, just to sort of top out. I was getting quite a lot of turbulent, dirty air on the top of my helmet, and also around the shoulders as well, kind of indicating that this narrow screen is letting quite a lot of wind around the edges. So from a weather protection point of view, not very impressive, I'm afraid. The brakes on the Tiger are from Nissan, and they seem to work pretty well. It has, of course, got ABS and traction control, the ABS being switchable, which is quite nice, I guess, if you're going to go off-road. But what I would say is I think the ABS is a relatively simple version. I gave it a handful of brake earlier on when I first got on the bike, and I did feel the ABS cut in quite readily. Not something that I would have expected, but nonetheless it's got ABS, so that's the main thing, a cracking safety feature, and something that I have no idea why you'd want to be without on a bike. Love the engine in this bike, it's really silky smooth. The triple is just that great sweet spot, isn't it, between the smoothness of a 4-cylinder and the low down grunt of a twin. And Triumph are masters of the triple engine. I think it just sounds lovely. That whistling note that you get on the Triumph triple is something that's really nice. On this you don't get quite the rasping intake sound, hello sir, that you get on my street triple, for example. But nonetheless it does sound very nice. Though of course this has got the standard Triumph can. I dare say if you put on some aftermarket arrows or something, you could make it sound a bit more loud, of course, if that's your thing. Gearbox on the Tiger 8 seems to work really nicely. There's no, I'm not getting any false neutrals or anything like that. It's very positive when you get her in gear. The clutch is, I suppose it's quite stiff actually, the clutch, compared to the more up-to-date Triumphs. I'm used now to Triumphs, I think they call it slip assist clutch, that are very, very light in action, whereas this one is relatively heavy, but it's not a problem. It's something you quickly get used to. The bike itself isn't particularly light. It's something like, I think it's 201 kilograms dry. But that said, once you're moving, like all these bikes, all the weight falls away and she feels quite nice and light and flickable. Dimensionally, it feels like a much bigger bike than it really is. It feels quite a substantial machine, which is good news if you're a slightly taller rider, of course. You've got this nice high up riding position, so great situational awareness coupled with those mirrors, so actually around town and using it as a commuter it would be absolutely brilliant. It's one of those bikes that just would make a great all-rounder. Practical during the week for getting you to work, and good fun at the weekends for when you want to go for a Sunday blast. The instrumentation on the bike is nicely done. Really pleased to see that we've got a fuel gauge on here, something my street triple's lacking. It's a similar sort of instrument cluster to the one on my older street triple, but they've sort of ruggedized it, put these bits of trim on here that just make the thing look kind of, you know, functional in a sort of an off-road way. I like that. Also got a gear position indicator, which I always like, together with all the usual functions, lots of trip computers and things like that on here, as well as a very useful range indication, which you can cycle through using this information button here on the right, oh sorry, on the left switch gear. Just takes you through some of those functions on the dash. 20.5 degrees, goodness me, it's quite warm today. It's a funny old day weather-wise. It looks grim, but it's actually pretty warm. I think we're in for some heavy rain soon. Switch gear on the bike is sort of neither here nor there really. It's not that PCB type in that it's not just pressing on contacts, it's proper switches, so quite nice and tactile. But they're relatively small and each side of the handlebar is fairly crowded. On the right hand handlebar you've got the cruise control, which actually works very nicely, to be fair. Okay, what I need to do before the weather closes in is find somewhere decent to stop and show you around this bike. What about the corner of that pub car park? There's a potential walk around spot. Let's go and have a look. Let's try it over here. Bit scrappy, but I'm sure you'll forgive me. Right. Nice and easy to find neutral. Good solid stand. Bingo, there we go. Alrighty, here we have it then, the Triumph Tiger 800 XRx. This being the road focus machine, comes without the little beak. The off-road versions have the sort of spoke wheels and a little beak on the front that I actually think makes it look a little bit better. But anyway, there we are. Let me just get the other camera out in the usual way, and we'll go around the bike and I'll talk you through the spec. Okay, here we go then. I've just been joined by the dustbin men behind me, so apologies for any noise. So here we have it then, the Triumph 800 Tiger, as I say, XRx. Puts out power-wise 95 brake horsepower at 9,250 RPM, and torque-wise 79 Newton meters at 7,850. So it's all very much in that usable range. In terms of the brakes, let's take a look. They're supplied, as I say, by Nissin. On the front here, we've got fairly big twin discs, 308mm floating discs. discs on the front, Nissin 2-pot calipers, switchable ABS as I say, and on the rear we've got single disc with a single Nissin calipers. Come around and show you that. There we go, complete with its ABS ring. Suspension on the front, shower, 43mm upside down forks. And on the rear it's another shower monoshock at the rear, hydraulically adjustable for preload. Let's see if we can find where the adjuster is. I haven't had a look at this yet. Nowhere obvious, but it's in there somewhere. Seat height is 810mm to 830, so relatively low, and you can even get a low seat version as well, which takes it from 760 to 780. So pretty accessible bike for everybody, I think. Weight wise, 201 kilograms, dry as I say, not super light, but doesn't feel heavy when you're moving her around. Tank capacity, pretty good actually on this. Big old tank, 19 litres, so pretty good range on this, I expect to find out in the next few weeks. Electronics, it's not overly laden, as I say. It's got switchable ABS, traction control, 3 rider modes, cruise control, which is rather handy on this sort of bike, and that's pretty much it for electronics. And price on the road, 9,900 according to the website, and you can get it in 3 colours. I think it comes in black, blue, grey or white, this being the grey that matches my jacket, which is rather splendid. Okay, so that's pretty much it for the spec. Don't know what you make of the looks of it. I'm not sure that I like it, I have to say. I think the off-road versions look better with a beak, whereas this one without it just looks a bit to me at the front as if it's missing something. Something I have noticed, which I do like though, is when you've got the bike running you get both those headlights on, which is nice rather than just one like you get on some of the Japanese bikes. Alright, that's pretty much it I think for the walk around. Let's jump back on and ride her some more. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention, actually just noticed, comes with a centre stand rather, as standard, which is an excellent addition. Why don't more bikes do that? Alrighty, right, let's crack on then. Usual thing with Triumphs, you have to pull in the clutch to get started. Turning circle wise seems pretty good actually, nice tight turning circle. How do I get out of here? Right next to a roundabout, so it's a bit tricky this one. The engine on here is really lovely. It's a joy to ride with these triples. It's really smooth on this bike. If anything, it's a bit smoother than on the street triple. It's certainly got loads of go, as I say. The additional capacity that the engine's got over the one on the street triple just makes up for the weight on the bike, I think, because it feels pretty sprightly to me. So that's about it for this time, my reacquaintance on the Triumph Tiger 800. As I say, got this for a few weeks, so thanks very much to the guys up at the Triumph factory in Hinckley for lending me the bike. I'm going to ride it as much as I possibly can and get a good feel for the bike so that I can do a few more videos on it and let you know, not just what are the good things about the bike, but what do I find out, what little niggles can I find out about the bike as well. I'm going to be going through it with a really fine tooth comb so I can let you know what the pros and cons are when my time with the bike is up. So I hope that's been of some interest to you. If this is the first time that you've been to my channel and watched one of my videos, thanks very much for sticking through to the end. It'd be great to have you subscribe, that way you won't miss any future videos. I don't just do bike reviews, but I do stuff in the garage, bike maintenance, that sort of thing. I do product reviews as well as take you out and about on my trips and tours along on my various biking trips. So as I say, hit that subscribe button, that way you won't miss any future videos. Thank you very much. Okay, I look forward to speaking to you next time. Until then, this has been the Mr. Fly. Cheerio.